Now we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to this very special episode. Oh, so Judson and Beth, hi. How are you? All right. So we are here, and today is a very, very special day because, as most of you know who do follow me, am hanging my hat on co-living after looking at a lot of different things. I'm open to a few others, but co-living is where I want to make my mark and where I expect my future to come from. And I have been looking. Hi, Melissa. I have been looking and looking to see how can I learn about co-living. And it hasn't been that easy. There have not been, hi, Jared. It's been a little bit time consuming to find someone who actually has experience. Now, for those of you who are in sub 2, you know that PACE brought in pad split, and we had those 2 Zooms. And pad split is a form of co-living. However, I wanted to expand past a certain niche that they focus in. So I continued to look and I continued to look, and I finally found Sam Wegert. So we are here today, and I'd like to say thank you very much, Sam, for coming on What the Effie.
My pleasure. So excited.
I appreciate it, especially knowing that you are on holiday. I appreciate it. Hi, Lance. So I appreciate your time very, very much. And I would like to begin by introducing most of the people that will be on here are probably going to be from PACE's community, from Sub 2 and the free Facebook community and the Gator and TC, that sort of thing. And most of them are learning about co-living. So I'd like to introduce them to you.
Please.
So I understand that as a child, you were homeschooled.
K through 12.
K through 12. Okay. So you were homeschooled, which the sub 2 community is a big advocate of that. You see a lot of parents who are homeschooling their kids. Hi, Yada. And that's not so unusual in our community. But I will say that something unusual happened when you were 15, because you had done homeschooling and martial arts, and then well, why don't you tell what happened then?
Yeah, it was really an amazing experience. I am a huge advocate of homeschooling after my experience. So it's so cool to hear that your listeners also are advocates. I mean, just it really allows kids to like kind of lean into what they're good at. And so for me, that was martial arts. My mom put me in martial arts. I'm sure a lot of parents listening to this can relate to just like you have a kid, they've got tons of energy. Maybe you don't want to medicate them, like, and you're just like, okay, I want to try to give them, my parents didn't want to medicate me. They wanted to give me the most natural way that I could get this energy out. And martial arts and kicking things and punching things seemed to be the thing that fit the bill for me because I was that energetic. And so my mom got me enrolled in martial arts when I was, I think, 12 or 13. And at 15, what the event you're referring to, Effie, it was my martial arts instructor came to me and said, hey, you've been training here for a couple of years. You're almost a black belt. What if I could convince your parents to let me sell you the school? And like, he just built me up and was like, he took my parents out and he convinced my parents that I could run this martial. And it wasn't, we're like in a town of 2,000 people, small, very family oriented community. So, we're not talking like a huge city, huge business. We had like 97 students and my parents agreed. My parents loaned me.
So your actual mentor and teacher chose you to pass his business on to?
Yeah, the truth is he was burnt out and he wanted out. So he was looking for someone to like literally like pass it to so he could go. He wanted to fish professionally on the Bass Pro Circuit. Like that was his dream, and he wasn't making as much money as he thought he wanted to make. And so he just was like, oh, I got to get out of this. And
so at the age of 15, your parents cooperated and gave you the money that you needed?
As you can tell, my parents are saints. And if they're listening to this, I when they do listen to this, they listen to a lot of stuff afterwards. But they hope they need to know that from me. But yeah, they did. They gave me 15K, and I set out to prove to the world. And they were supposed to actually show up every day that I was teaching. It was like we were open like 5 days a week. And because I wasn't even an adult yet, I was 15. And they showed up for like 3 classes. And then they were like, because I'm one of 8. So they had their hands full raising 8 other children, or
Wow.
7 children. 7 plus 1 equals, right? Me is 8. And so they came to a few classes and they were like, Sam, you're on your own. We thought we could make it every day, but we can't. And so I would spike my hair and look as old as I possibly could. And people would guess my age and then never tell them my age, and just always try to act older than I was. And that was where I cut my teeth on entrepreneurship. And so, big shout out to homeschoolers, just because, I would not have been able to take advantage of that opportunity if I still had 3 more years of school to do. So think about like my whole high school education to a large extent was basically learning how to run a business. Now, my instructor did hire me a mentor, and Effie, you know this. It's why I'm so big on mentors. It's why I have so many in my life. I know you are big on that too. And gosh, I just admire you for that so much, because like you're at an age where you could be like, well, I know everything, and you do.
Sure.
You know a lot more than
If
me.
I was
Effie,
small-minded.
but you're still seeking knowledge and seeking mentors. It's really inspiring to me. And so my martial arts instructor, before he left, he hired me a mentor and said, Sam, this guy's going to coach you. He's going to coach you on how to run a martial arts school, how to make money, how to teach your students really well. And without that mentor, I wouldn't be here today. I really wouldn't. And I wouldn't have run successful martial arts schools for almost 15 years. So
15 years.
Yeah,
Amazing.
that was the event at 15.
Wow. Okay. So then let's move forward in your life, because you are absolutely known as the co-living expert. So talk to us how you went from martial arts and running the business into co-living. How did that happen?
It was basically what we just kind of talked about earlier. It was mentorship. It was my mentors at the time said, Sam, your business is doing well. And I was successful, and my head was this big, and I thought I could run any martial arts school. I thought I would have 100 martial arts schools one day. And they said, look, your business is doing great, but like, it may not always do great. So like take a portion, take a percentage of what you're making and put it into like what they used to call a second engine. You've got your martial arts engine. What's your second engine? And I just remember this being so foreign to me. I was like, why do I need a second engine? I'm going to do martial arts till the day I die, and it'll always be amazing because I'm amazing. And and the young egotistical kid. That was there's a downside to being 15, 16, 17. Once you do it successfully, you think you know everything, right? But I did. I was humble enough to listen to their advice. And not just listen, like actually do what they said to do, which is just weird to me because people will pay me for advice and then they don't do anything I tell them to do. And I'm like, I don't know why you paid me for my advice. Or they'll do the opposite. I'll be like, do this. And they're like, go out and do something different. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But
that is weird.
It is odd. It is odd.
So
I did what they said, and I just started buying real estate. I started buying real estate, and I started this house hacking, is what it used to be called, right? Where I'd live in a home and I'd rent out rooms. And I can get into it now, or we can get into it later, but just kind of.
So you ended up in your first house, your first property where you were living in it and you were renting other rooms.
Exactly. And that was not for a business. It was more just because I was like, I don't have a girlfriend.
To put your money somewhere.
Why? Yeah, exactly. I have these empty rooms and I'm used to living with 7 brothers and sisters that are always teasing me. Like, this is not a big deal.
That wasn't hard. That was not
hard at all.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because I know that this question comes up a lot. What is co-living? How do you explain it? Is it shared housing? Is it hacking? Is it, a rooming house? A hostel? What the heck is it?
Yeah.
So would you be kind enough to tell us in your own words, how do you describe co-living?
You're right, Effie. It is difficult to describe because different people think about it differently. So I'll give you like my definition and my version of it. In my mind, here's the easiest way for Americans at least to wrap their head around it. I want you to think of a room in a house as the new apartment. And like, this is how Europeans a lot of times think about it. This is how people in other countries think about it, right? They think like in Europe, housing is even more expensive than it is here. And so it's very common. Like, it's so common in Europe to just rent a room instead of an apartment or instead of a house that they have whole sections of code that are only dedicated to co-living. I actually just found that out today. Someone from Europe was like,
seriously, the government has code for only co-living.
Or that the whole niche of co-living is so prevalent there. And I know this because
Wow.
someone on my last challenge, he has 150 rooms in, I don't know exactly where, somewhere in Europe. And he was like, this is, he said, like, we have whole codes dedicated to how you can do co-living, how you can. It's like, it's its own regulated thing because like, that's how a bunch of people live. So it is how I think about it is it's renting a room for long-term housing. And I think that's the key difference maybe between me and a lot of other people that think about co-living. You know, a lot of people can conceptualize renting a room, but they're like, oh, you mean me putting a room up on Airbnb for a two or three nights? And I'm like, no, this is people signing a 12-month lease to live in a home, in a room, in a home. And this is, yeah, exactly. I didn't, the comments coming through. That's pretty badass. I like that.
That's pretty awesome. Hi, Jared.
Yeah. Congrats, dude. That's
Congratulations. Starting on your first one. That's great. That is really good.
Yeah.
So for you, you're looking at it as a room that is like a miniature apartment and where you're planning to stay for longer term.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even a lot of the co-living companies out there, Effie, don't think about it that way. Even a lot of the co-living companies out there right now are weekly rentals, fully furnished. And I'm not saying those things are bad. It's just different. I lived in co-living houses for 13 and a half years. To me, this is like, I enjoyed it. The only reason I'm not doing it literally right now is because my wife would be like, I wouldn't be married, you know? But during those years, I loved it. And so I think if I can get people to wrap their head around, okay, the room is the new apartment, I would sign a long-term lease on an apartment. So you're saying you want me to sign a long-term lease on a room. And a lot of people are like, why the heck would anybody do that? And the reason is because like, A, it's not that bad of a way to live. Like imagine having all your utilities taken care of, your lawn taken care of, and living in a nice house in a neighborhood versus having to walk up to a massive apartment complex. Like you get the neighborhood feel, you get a home feel, you know, you get a furnished common area and a game room in the garage or whatever.
Right. And
It's
I agree with you. I think that as opposed to thinking of the lower neighborhoods, I'm personally interested in B plus, even A, nice neighborhoods where people would want to live, but you know, don't really want to be in a huge apartment building, but would love to have a nice space in a home.
Exactly.
And I would be looking for like-minded people. Yes. So I wouldn't expect that in the home I would be living in and having my space, that there would be, you know, a 17-year-old that's just getting out into the world, or gamers, or I don't know, nurses. You know, those are all different kinds of areas, niches, but that there's a commonality. Yes. Do you cater to that in your properties?
Yeah, I love what you're describing. And I see what you're describing, Effie, starting to take off in a lot of co-living homes where someone will be like, I just had someone the other day tell me like, I'm only going to do my homes. They're going to be for veterans. I'm only going to do my homes. Therefore, you know, Jesse Ray, you know, he's like entrepreneur homes. Like you have to fill out like a freaking 10-page application. You have to get up at like 6 morning and do a cold plunge. I was like, damn, like, I don't know if I'd be in that home, but like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't know. That sounds intense, but that's his vibe. That's what he wants to create. We do not cater to specific demographics like that right now in the 200 plus homes that we own and manage.
You have over 200?
Yeah, I think it's like 190, but we have like 20 coming live this week. So I'm just
wonderful. Congratulations.
200 plus. Yeah. So it's the thing people that are listening to this need to be careful about though, is like, there is such a thing as fair housing laws. And so like, if you advertise too specifically, you know, some of the platforms will shut you down. Like even if we advertise on Facebook Marketplace, like Jennifer saying single moms, like that's great. You just kind of have to vet for that, like in person or over the phone. Like you can't be throwing ads up there saying this home is only for even young professionals. Because the problem is that like Facebook specifically, if you're like on Facebook Marketplace, which is where we get a lot of our leads, they'll just nix you from the platform. They'll be like, that's discriminatory. Like they're just so intense about it, like overly intense about it, to be honest, but they don't want to get in trouble. So therefore they make their rules really strict. And so you kind of have to like have a more generic ad and then vet for that after the fact, if that's what you want to create.
Okay, that's interesting.
Love these comments coming in though.
So we got the Content House. I didn't know about Danny Harrison and Stefan Lopez. Melissa, you'll have to tell me a little bit about that later.
Awesome.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
And Carrie says seniors. Yeah, seniors. I'm particularly interested in seniors, but not right away, because I think seniors are going to need extra nice place, extra large, and I just want to get the cash flowing going. So it is interesting. Jennifer wants to know, is there a loophole to the fair housing laws?
No. Seniors are a loophole because you are legally allowed to advertise. And I'm not an expert on those specific laws, so don't like check with someone else. But like I know that there are some rules and laws that protect you advertising to 55 plus population.
Right.
As far as specific loopholes, I think it's I don't know. Maybe you know about one, Effie. You seem like you were going to say something.
I don't know. Somebody wise told me that they're not tenants.
That's true, I guess.
That they're members. Because
that could be a loophole. You want to dive into that?
Advertising for a particular type of person rubs up against the concept of they're not related. So how can they live together? Like unrelated people never live together. And let's not talk about people who never get married. God help us,
Exactly.
But this concept of how do you get around some towns that have, you can't have more than 3 or 4 or whatever, unrelated people living together.
Super common question. One of the biggest questions we get for sure. And you know what's funny, Effie, is I actually never thought about this as a way to potentially get around fair housing laws as well. I don't know how that would rub up against it. That's interesting. But as far as getting around, like a lot of these local zoning towns will have no more than 3 unrelated people, no more than 5, no more than 6. In Charlotte, it's like no more than 6. And so how do you get around that? How do you have 7, 8 people share a house? What does that look like? And I have spent a tremendous amount of time and energy and effort putting into creating the structure that's needed for this. And the
legal structure.
The legal structure, exactly. And the easy way to describe it is basically that you have membership agreements versus leases. And so these people are members of a club, and then that club is one entity, and that one entity is a company. So like, let's call it an LLC, and it rents the home. So technically, whoever owns the home is only leasing the home to one person, because in the United States, an LLC is considered only one person. Right. So these people are all members, and then their membership agreement needs to spell out exactly, what they get and what they pay, and there's membership dues and exactly what the benefits are that they get for having this membership, and so things like that. So it can be a little complicated. We've spent a tremendous amount of money and time and energy in bringing in lawyers to kind of collaborate on this. I think people need to understand that I have not had membership agreements for almost 13 years of doing this. But as this takes off, it's kind of like
more in the light.
Yeah, it gets more in the light. And so I want to be ahead of the game so that when this happens, we can actually fight it in court if we need to. And I do that for people that I manage for. Like, we'll take it to court for them, no problem, if it becomes something that's a way that we kind of protect them.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Very good to know. I'm going to talk just a tad. Here are some of the names or the groups that were brought forward. And I'd like to know what your thoughts are. Young professionals and millennials, students and academics, nurses or tech meds, remote workers and digital nomads, seniors and empty nesters, and growth houses, which is what
Jesse's doing.
Jesse does, yeah.
The entrepreneurs, yeah, that's a
right.
Cool one.
Yeah, growth house for where you can go in and you can grow your, your mindset and grow your business. Right. That it's focused around those things. Right. I'm kind of curious. Do you see other niches?
Or is it just did we talk about veterans? Veterans would be one.
Yeah, you said veterans, and I was like, why didn't I think of veterans?
Yeah, veterans are a big one. And now that I'm thinking about this more, I actually do. Like, this isn't a question I've directly asked my lawyer, because a lot, but like, I actually do think like I was thinking about what Jesse does with growth houses, which are only for entrepreneurs. If someone applies and you're a club, you absolutely can have someone, there's no legal traps against you having someone fill out an application to join the club, and then you either deny or accept them. Like that's fine. I know
Right.
like, so it's a
Right.
lawyer
You
question,
would
but I
be
think that
doing
that's fine.
that with veterans, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if a
Yeah.
non-veteran came and they said, well, I want to be able to apply. I think applying, you should be able to. But if you're not
Exactly.
a veteran and this is based on serving veterans,
Yeah.
or let's say it's a cheerleading house for whatever
Yeah.
reason,
A cheerleader house,
and
a
you happen
gamer
to
house.
just
You
be
mentioned.
a janitor, well,
Yeah.
sorry, what are your cheerleading abilities,
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but I would think that the niche of marketing too, seniors to nurses, I would think that it would be doable, but what do I know? Like you say, it's coming under a new light now, and it's becoming much bigger. And part of the reason that it is becoming such is that you could take a house from, that should be a long-term rental that should be bringing in somewhere 1900, and
Yeah.
you could turn around and that same house could be bringing you over 6,000 plus.
Yeah, it's a significant difference. We're talking 2 to 3 to 4x, and it's a lot more stable than Airbnbs, right? So Airbnbs, you kind of have this like game of like, oh, I hope that I get bookings this weekend. I always have to be looking at my competition. I mean, I own Airbnb, so I know it's a constant game to like stay on the top of the list and just be really, really, really thinking about how I'm going to collect those bookings. And then you're also kind of beholden to these platforms. Like if you do anything wrong, like I've had several times, we have an unauthorized party at our house. Like we don't even know about it. And the way Airbnb now punishes hosts is by delisting your home for a certain period of time. So
So you get punished for what your
yeah,
Airbnbers did.
yeah. And I could tell story after story about something like that happening where it's just like, man, like this is scary. Like, especially if you have a big, the best Airbnbs are like these big houses now, the ones that are like 7, 8, 9, million bucks. It's
Yeah.
like to have that and not have income, like, oh my gosh. So like, I like Airbnbs. I'm actually going tonight to one that's just available. I'm bringing some friends over. We're going to use it's fun. It's kind of like what I call sexy. It's just sexy to have an Airbnb that like, you send out the link to all your friends. Your friends are like, you own that? That's awesome. But it's not, when I project out the next 5 to 10 years, I want stable income with something that's needed, not something that's just wanted. An Airbnb is
Right.
wanted. I want to go on a vacation. I need housing.
Right.
So other niches, I do want to address your question about other niches. I think gamers, I know this sounds crazy, but like gamers could be a niche. I know you don't want to live with them, Effie, but they got to live somewhere.
No, but they make good money. And if they
Like,
make good money and they
yeah,
don't destroy the place, I'm okay, because they're
yeah,
usually stuck to their computer.
that's right. You've got this whole niche that I do see kind of becoming more popular, and that is corporate housing. So it's like taking a house and like having it be used for one company. Like, hey, this is an Amazon house, or this is a a tech company house, whatever's near, or this is a Tesla employee house. So kind of like leaning towards that. There's a
Right.
certain amount of community that can be created in there. I definitely see like computer, like hacker house. I don't know if that was one of yours, but like a hacker house where people are there working for some company or working in some startup. A lot of times that can be, you could even go as you could go niche and be like, this is a homeschool house. Like if you're a homeschool, like
Right.
University of Virginia house or whatever college is around. Not that we focus on college housing, but maybe alumni of that or graduate students of that college.
Right. Grad students and staff from the
Yeah, and
university
staff.
or visiting faculty.
That's right.
Sure.
That's right.
Absolutely. And I also think that even something like the minor leagues, where there's a training, their training facility. And if you had a nice home where they need to go and sleep, if
Right.
they don't provide them with the regular housing, why not put them in a group together where they all wake up at the same time, they all do their thing, and you're being paid by the camp,
That's
maybe.
right.
You never know. So it is interesting to see. I personally kind of think that this is very creative. Like you're limited by your creativity. It has to be a market.
That's right.
But there's such a shortage of housing that, if you do your research, then you should be able to actually price it such that it will bring you in considerably more than a long-term rental.
Yeah. And I just saw a comment on your YouTube channel. Someone was just saying that they're conservatively going to do 7,200, but they're like, if they're full and it's cranking out, it could be in the 8,000s for what their first co-living house. I don't know if it's your first one, but whoever was commenting on that.
As a matter of fact, I believe it is.
Crazy.
Do you have homes that run like that?
Yeah, we're launching a 10-bedroom this week. It's similar numbers, right? If you have 10 rooms and the average rent on that is 850 to 900, which it will be on this particular house, that's 85 to 9,000 if that thing is cranking in full. Obviously, you have expenses and mortgage and things you got to pay, but I'm just saying top line gross revenue. This home that we're launching would probably rent for 2,500 on the open market. So okay, let's take that and like 3x it, at least more than 3x it. Like that, as long as you guys are willing to learn the systems, it's nuanced. That's why people stay away from it. It's nuanced. And if you can learn those nuances, understand those nuances, and still create a great product, then you will win. And it's beautiful to see. And I have a little philosophical, and I can address that question from Jill as well. But I have a little philosophical. Let me just like go philosophical, future focus for a second. And in most investors that I talk to around the United States, literally, and I'm talking with hundreds of every month now, and I ask them, do you think the economy is going to get better starting from now or worse and then get better later on? And almost 99.9% of the time, all investors are like, we actually think it's going to get worse first.
Yeah.
And here's what I know. When things get worse, people want to bond more. Right? Like, so when things get worse, communities start, right? Relationships form because we need to get through tough times. And I personally, this is my personal opinion, believe that things will get way worse. I do believe we will be at war in the next 5 to 10 years. That's just if you study the cycles and how human history works. And like, we're in a very shifting time right now. Now we're insulated from that as Americans, but like, pardon my language, but like shit could hit the fan.
Yeah.
Pretty seriously. And when that happens, I do believe that people will want cheaper options. They will want to conserve, and B, they will want to live in community. They will want that. No, it's just, we're tribal beings. We want to like have people around us to be more safe. And obviously, if we can do a good job vetting them and I can create these safe communities, people will stay for a really long time.
Right. And I think particularly with some of the groups such as seniors and empty nesters, it's loneliness that kills them.
Yeah.
Or deteriorates their health.
Yeah.
So, they don't want to clean the big house anymore.
Right.
They're tired of it. The kids are gone. It served its purpose. So for them to be able to get into nice areas with a nice situation for having their off-suite bathroom and such in a good home, and where someone will notice if they don't show up. Right. So they can do things in groups. They can, there are services you can bring to them. Although I don't want to go into assisted, meaning that they have to be healthy and vigorous. So I think that in some cases, like you say, or if you move to a new city, you don't know anybody.
Right.
It's great to be able to live in a co-living environment that's nice, safe, clean, more upscale, like not just, lower end, and where you can meet people, because all the other people will have friends. You'll be able to meet their friends. So how do we answer Jill's question here? She says, if someone defaults on their payments, how do you get rid of them?
Yeah, it's the typical eviction process that we use here. Now, if you do the membership agreements, there are some other alternatives that you can use. They get a little bit more complex because technically, if someone's a member of a company, then you could terminate. And if that's the direction you go, then you could terminate their membership at will for, as long as it's spelled out in the membership agreement. But if someone just decides to squat or whatever, then usually the way we do it right now is it's just a typical eviction process. We involve a lawyer, and it really does depend on what state you're in. But yes, that still works. A lot of people ask that, like, wait, if it's just a room, like, can they still go through that process? Yeah, it's the exact same.
Got it. And Brandon has a question for us. He's asking about, how do you handle food for the house and storage? Do you let them bring all their stuff? What do you do?
For co-living to work smoothly and for it to be clean, quiet, and safe, you need to furnish the common areas and not let any personal items in the common area. That's incredibly key so that you're providing the experience for the common space. And that way, when you come in to show the home or when someone walks in, there's just a kind of a consistent experience. As soon as people start to bring in their own stuff, things can go downhill real fast. In the kitchen and in the, well, the kitchen's the big one. In the kitchen, we're going to label all the cabinet space. We're going to label all the refrigerator space so that room 1 has room 1 cabinet and room 1 space in the refrigerator. That's a very important little hack, if you will, to just making sure things run smoothly and everybody knows where their stuff is and where the common stuff is. If you have a bunch of storage, like if you have a garage that has tons of storage and you don't want people to park there, you can separate it out based on like, hey, here's your spot. Here's room 1's spot for storage. I don't recommend it though. As soon as people start using your home for storage, maybe they stay longer, but it can get messy real fast. So if you do it, make sure you charge extra for it.
Right. Okay. And now that leads us towards, the maintenance of the property. Can you talk about, how do you keep it clean? I believe, like you said, no personal items left in the common area because in some way that's dominating the area.
Great way to put it. Great way to put it.
If you've got your wet boots, which I don't want anyways, and your coat and stuff like that sitting on the couch, and I want to sit on the couch, what do I do? So I like the rule of no personal items in the common area, but what about cleaning? What about keeping it, the bathrooms neat and clean?
Yeah, for the longest time, I did not have any cleaners coming in to clean the spaces. And the truth is they just got dirty. And when we started scaling, it was okay for like 4, 5, 6 houses. When we started scaling, my property manager would walk into a house and be like, oh my, she'd have to get there 15, 20 minutes early to like make sure the dishes were washed and clean off and it was just like, hey, that doesn't need to happen. So we started hiring professional cleaners. Now these homes are spitting off so much cash flow that you spending $65, $75 per cleaning for twice a month, or you could even go bougie if you wanted to and do every week. I know some co-living homes that do that, to come in and just clean the common areas. They don't have to clean all the bedrooms, right? It's just like usually the kitchen and the living room and the shared bathrooms. That's it. And so it's usually not that expensive a cleaning, and it's just worth its weight in gold is the truth. And again, it just helps you provide that better product, that consistent experience. We do one more thing, and we still do this to this day, where when someone signs a membership agreement or a lease with us, we ask them to do this certain set of chores one time every month, or really one time every time their week comes around. So if there's 8 people, I guess that would be once every 2 months, right? Because it's like everybody's got to do something once a week. And so if they want to opt out of that, they're like, I don't want to do chores. What is this? I'm not 12, I'm not 13. Then we will just say, no problem. It's $50 extra a month for you to completely opt out of this, and we'll have somebody handle that week for you. And we get people that will do that. It's like, yeah, do that. That's easy. No worries. Otherwise, we are kind of checking in. There's a laminated sheet on the refrigerator. Now, honestly, do we check in on like super consistently? No. But does it create an environment for it? We also have a house manager at each one of these houses, which we give a $25 discount on rent each month for them to kind of check in on that sheet and do a few other things, but kind of check in on that sheet and make sure that is getting done. So that also helps keep things clean at the co-living houses.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Jared, I'd like to address your comment here. For group meetups, I'm going to be speaking with Pace about doing Zooms in sub 2. So I do think that it would help us as a group. And I am in Sam's mentorship, so I'll be learning a lot, and I have no problem in sharing. I do think I'm like a step, maybe 2, I don't know, a little bit ahead of some of you, but it's all about, helping each other and making it happen. So yes, good idea. All right, Carrie, I'm running to learn this, but I do have a handyman. Okay, I like the chat, guys. Keep talking in the chat. It's good. All right, so yeah, Jared, I see that you want to post a Calendly link. Please hold off on that. I want to communicate with Pace first, because I think we're going to do it inside of sub 2 on his Zooms. That's how he's wanted it in the past when he's had me do things. So let me just research that, and it might take a little bit of time, but be patient and we'll get there. And we've got Carrie saying she wants to focus on seniors. That's great.
I'd like to make let me make a comment on seniors. There is a there is a company, they're called Majestic Residences, and they
Majestic.
Majestic Residences, and they do focus on the assisted living. Now, it's not like the highest level. They only do like the lowest level of assisted living,
Hmm.
but they have an amazing model. And I'm talking, the numbers on this are stupid crazy amazing. Like,
I know. I know.
yeah, like it's like 2 to 3 people per room, which is
Yeah.
not what I do on the like young professional side, right?
Right.
And they pay like 4 to 5 grand a month,
I
and
know.
they're putting them in 8-bedroom homes. So guys, just do some quick math. Like 8 times 3 people per room, 816, that's 24 people times 4 grand. The numbers get insane so damn fast. It's crazy.
I
And
know.
what his company does, and I've actually I've got a relationship with him, and we bring him in to mentor. You'll probably
Oh,
be seeing
good.
him in our mentorship as well. But what he does is we work together to like find the right house, and he helps you find the right house and get a spec. You do have to have a license for it. So again,
Exactly.
it's not for everybody, but if that's just because someone said they wanted to focus on seniors, if you're willing to do that assisted living, that lower level assisted living, I mean, you could reach financial freedom with one house.
Yes, I understand. But that 32,000 isn't going to come just to you, because you do have to have the nurse on staff and
You do.
the aides, and you're
Yes.
going to lose people. People will die. I mean, not that they won't die in senior homes or even in millennial homes. People die. Did you know that? Anyhow, the point is that I understand that, and I am trying to open my mind to it. It's just not quite where I want to go. I want to uh, focus on people who are in their senior years, have a lot of money, and are willing to spend it to live a good life while they can. And yes, Melissa, thank you for asking. I will be doing. I have to talk with Pace first, though, guys. So please be patient. Okay, I don't sometimes expect quite that much, but anyhow, so yes, I do think that assistant living, and we have a list assistant living specialists in Sub 2, just like we have sober living
Yes.
experts,
Yeah.
lots of them, and they make very good money.
Yes.
Is it's you just have to figure out if that's what you want to do or not, and we'll see. We'll see. All right.
I think the new piece, the kind of like the new piece is that combining of co-living, like, so it's a single family house, right? I feel like a lot of the facilities, the way that this guy explained it, the CEO of Majestic Residences is like, look, assisted living is not going anywhere, but people are starting to change their mindset. Instead of like you know, putting their parents in a big facility that's huge and kind of looks like more like an apartment complex. And yes, Care, you do need a special license for. That's what actually this company helps you do. They help you get that license and help you hire the right people, like Effie was saying. But this like model, for me, it was new. It was like, well, no, it's assisted living, but it's really in like a really cool environment, like in a neighborhood, makes them feel more at home and more special. And that blew my mind. That was a really cool like combination of what I've done for the last 15 years and then the assisted living thing. So I
Right,
like it.
right. Yes, I like it too. I like the idea that you could take a very large house that was usually for like super wealthy family, and like you said, put up some walls, and make the common spaces a little bit differently, and make it so that it's very, very attractive. And you
Yes.
wouldn't be getting the 4 to 6K a month that you can get in assisted living, but you could charge just below that, because you
Right.
could be bringing in the manicurist if that's what they want, or the masseuse, or the whatever it is,
Right.
the person
Right.
who's going to teach them on the internet or whatever. So I do think that it goes almost all throughout life that you could live in groups, and in some groups it's going to be more beneficial than others,
That's right.
and some groups will have more money. And not to say anything negative about workforce and pad split, because they do fill a niche, and
Mhm.
I think workforce people deserve to be able to be in a safe, clean environment as well.
That's right.
But I would like to be able to think that people are going to stay for years. Do you have members who stay for years?
Yeah, and I would say that our focus is workforce housing. Like, and when I say our, meaning my specific. So if you look at Pad Split, they're focused on more affordable housing right now, right? So that's going to be someone that makes literally 15K to 35K or 40K a year. They have better stats on that, but that's my, whereas the people that are living in my homes are going to be closer to, probably they make 40 to 80,
Okay.
35,
Okay.
35 to 80K. So there's a workforce housing, someone that's a manager at a McDonald's, they're putting the tires on your car, they're handling the luggage at the airport, right? Where do those people live? They need a good, like you're saying, Effie, they need a good, clean, stable, solid place to live. Whereas pad split, I was trying to explain this to some guy yesterday, and I'm not always familiar with the right terms or what's PC to say or not, but we're one notch above, is kind of where we target, is one notch above affordable housing, right? Which, again, like you're saying, affordable housing, that's a need, but affordable housing is still, workforce housing is still a huge need too,
Right.
and
Right.
growing rapidly. So I think
Right.
that's
Yep. And
really
my
important.
own personal niche, I want a little bit above what you're talking about for yours.
Yeah, you're even looking to go even
Yeah.
nicer,
B
like
B B plus to
right,
A minus.
yeah.
So I think that it is interesting. You can go after anything, guys. Why not? And Jennifer has an interesting question. She said, "What do you recommend we choose first? A location or a niche?"
That's a really good question, actually. It's a chicken or
Isn't
the
it?
egg. Which one comes
Isn't it?
first? Right? Which one came first? I think you decide your niche first, because if you choose location and then you decide to go after nurses and the location you chose has one hospital, like, you're gonna kind of screwed, right?
The hospital's 50 miles away.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, one hospital's way down that road. So I think you kind of got to decide, like, okay, what, I'm going workforce housing. I mean, if you're workforce housing, you can be in any city in America, is the straight truth.
Right. Right.
If you're like, I only want to do veterans, then you're like, yeah, there's definitely better cities. Fayetteville, North Carolina is a great one, right? Fayetteville, North Carolina, I've got some students that are doing co-living there, and it's like right outside of a base. And I saw someone earlier mention military people and outside of bases. So I think niche first.
So niche first.
Niche first.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's interesting. And Jared is pretty active. He's saying, I tried to look at a C neighborhood and I didn't like it myself. So I went to B neighborhoods. I spent 100K more, but felt it was better. Yeah, that's another thing that I use for my own criteria. But guys, my criteria is right for me, and
Right.
I'm learning it. And I'm learning systems and processes and how not to make mistakes with Sam. But what's right for you is right for you.
Right.
But one of the things I think is, if I wouldn't want to live there, I'm not comfortable taking money from people to live there. Because if I did have a squatter or did have somebody that was causing trouble, I want to have no problem looking them right in the eye and saying, listen here, Missy or Mister,
You tell
I've
them,
worked hard to create this kind of an environment and you're not messing it up. Straighten up or get out. I have no
love
problem
it.
doing that if I'm offering a good product, but if
Yeah.
I'm thinking that, oh my God, I wouldn't be there, and will I be able to rent it afterwards, and blah, blah, blah. That's a different thing. And so I'm
Yeah.
not really,
I have a
um,
I have a class C. So most of my stuff is B plus, B minus, but that's most of my stuff. I have a class C, one like definite class C property, right? And what's interesting is there's definitely pros and cons to it. Here's the pro. I added a washer dryer to this house and they thought I was God. They were literally like, "You not gonna put a coin laundry machine? We don't have to walk down the street." And I was like, "Yeah." They were just like, worshipped us. So that was like kind of cool, right? I was like, kind of cool. And then the other thing is, they stay for freaking ever. Like, I do
yeah,
not have to turn over.
if you give them a good deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you give them a good deal. The rent's the
Yeah.
same. They budget it out. It's like the most important bill they pay, and they're like, and so, like, they just, or they're on a government program or they're on assisted programs. So kind of, there's some sort of maybe guaranteed rent or whatever. And what also is really interesting is those people in that house. I'm thinking of one house in specifically. We call it Holly Street. That they got assistance during like COVID or any like crises. Guess who gets
Oh,
assistance first? Those people do. So like they were the first ones to be like, churches, like local churches were sending us checks when people lost their job in COVID. And I know there was like government programs and stuff during COVID too, but I'm talking
yeah.
even in the future, if anything crazy happens, someone lose, like they're the first to get assistance and like still pay their rent. So it is what it is, but it's and then of course, it has its negatives too, but
Yeah. That's a good point, though. It's a good point.
yeah.
So for sure, I want to continue our discussion, but I also want to make sure that people understand a bit more about why I brought Sam on. In the first place, you guys know my podcast is relatively new, and it's not as if, you know, you don't have to be like, I don't know, Grant Cardone. You don't have to be like Grant Cardone to get
What
on
are you
my.
trying to say, Effie?
I'm saying that I feel honored that you came on.
I'm giving you a hard time. I'm on it.
Yeah,
I'm on it too.
exactly.
This is awesome.
However, you guys should know that you are kind of lucky that I'm bringing him to your attention, because you can check him out. He has been on Bigger Pockets, as has Pace. It's episode 560. Mark it down.
Yeah.
He's been there. So he not only has done, Bigger Pockets, but wait, I'm trying to find my. Oh, here we go. Here are some of the places where Sam has already appeared, because there just aren't a lot of people that can say they've been doing it for over 10 years and that they can save you that amount of time in not making the same mistakes as them. So these are all the names of podcasts that he has been on. We've got Bigger Pockets and Short-Term Rental Secrets, the FI Investors Podcast, From Military to Millionaire, Beardy Brandon's webinar, and now, of course, What the Effie. So thank you.
What's funny is the short-term rental secret podcast that I did, that was fairly recently. We ended up talking about co-living.
I know. I was like, why was he on that? And then
Exactly.
I saw the conversation very quickly go to co-living.
Yeah.
Because that's how I found you. I did a lot of research on the internet to try to figure out, who's here? And there aren't a lot of people. Particularly people who, well, I haven't found very many, but it's a joy to meet someone who is as young as you are, who this is not their first business, and who is, easy to learn from, and who is willing to give. I think that is really, really good. And speaking of giving, I want to make sure you guys know that although I've now joined Sam's membership, and it is a pretty, serious membership, and I'm grateful for it. You can learn from Sam for free, both online, and he has a 5-day challenge for co-living.
Yeah.
And he does it every once in a while. And for 5 days, you can, and I did this before I decided I was going to jump in with him as my mentor. And he teaches a fair amount. And he gives you some of the, things that you need. It's a little bit like what the Pace does with no, it's actually more intense than the free Facebook that Pace does. It's much more intense because you're meeting with him and it's live.
Yeah.
And the next one is on September 18th.
Yes.
So what you want to do, guys, is you want to check him out and connect with him. Where am I? Sorry, guys. Here we go. He's on Facebook and he's on Instagram as Sam Wegert. Right. Get on there and he'll announce it. Oh, I should set up an affiliate link.
You should. I've got one for you, Effie. Let's go. I'll get you one.
Okay, guys, if you end up going into his mentorship, please go through my affiliate link. I just, when I saw that going by, I was like, wait, that's almost like money. But it's true.
I'll give you an affiliate link. And I'm also taking a big lesson from this podcast for me personally. I do not use StreamYard to its fullest capabilities. This is like what you've got going on here is badass. You get the streaming and the comments, and this is awesome.
Well, I will say that it took me a little while to get good at it. So please do not, and I repeat, do not go back and watch my second episode. It was a disaster. Or was it the third? I don't know. One of them was a disaster. But I love that Sam does this, where he offers the 5-day challenge for free. And you should definitely check that out.
And to be fair, we used to charge for it. It used to be a paid ticket. You would come in. It wasn't a high ticket thing. It was like $97, $50. One time we did, it was $47 to test. And then we just decided, you know what? We always got way more people if we just front loaded value and said, you know what? We're going to do a deep dive, an hour a day. It ends up being like 2 hours a day, actually 2 hours a day for 5 days, deep dive into a different subject on co-living so people can like literally see how it can set them financially free at the end. It's a powerful, powerful experience. Every time I go through it, it's powerful for me. I learn, everybody learns together.
Yeah.
We had over 615 people registered for our last one. That wasn't however many people showed up exactly, but like it was our biggest registration, which just shows to the fact that this is taking off and people are wanting to learn about this asset class.
And you're greatly positioned because of the fact that there aren't that many people who have been doing it. Now, I would like, before we even start to wrap it off, or wrap it down, I should say, is I want for us to take a look at an example of a house that you made into a co-living property.
Yeah.
So bear with me, guys. I am going to share my screen. And
while you're doing that, I know what property, because I sent you this before. This is a home in Charlotte, and it was nasty. It was nasty, nasty, nasty when we bought it. So this was a rehab, and it was we actually bought it, it's about 3 years ago, I think, 2.5, 3 years ago, for $228,000.
Wow.
It needed a rehab, but it was huge. It was 3,000 square feet. It was 4 full bathrooms already. Even though it's in the middle of Charlotte, it's an old enough house that it's actually still on a septic. And I know that might surprise people.
It was on septic, huh?
Believe it or not, it's on septic. Like, it's on a 5-bedroom septic system, which I love septics. They are cheaper and easier. Like, you will save money if you have septic.
I'm afraid of them.
I like them. I grew up on a septic, and I've got a bunch of short-term rentals in the mountains on septics, and they're just the best.
Okay. We'll have to talk about that some more. Yeah. But folks, one of the things that he has us looking for is ample parking space.
Yeah.
So you can see that there's this big pad here, for parking. And now talk to us, Sam. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, so here is my part of my communal space.
Yeah, this is the common space. And a lot of times we'll add a desk or two, but all we're really looking to do is add a place for someone to eat and for someone to hang out and work. We do not put TVs in the common space because that can be a source of contention. But that refrigerator, the reason that refrigerator is there, some people ask me, like, what the freak is the refrigerator doing in the living room? It's there because you need 1 refrigerator per 6 people that share a house. So this home has 9 bedrooms, which you'll see in a moment when Effie shows you the floor plan. But that's the second refrigerator, and that was just the best spot for it. So That's where it ended up being. But this is the only part that we furnish. Everything else is remember, the room is the new apartment. And so people need to bring their own stuff into their room, right?
Right. Now, that's not to say, like, I think Jared is doing it furnished. Everyone can do their own thing. But I myself am taking the lead from Sam. Whoa! Sorry about that.
Yeah,
you gave me a compliment.
Just for some context on that, you can definitely do it furnished. It's sometimes what I feel is it gives it a little bit more of a short-term vibe. Like, it's not your bed, it's not your stuff. Like, I want your stuff to be in there. And again, like you're saying, Effie, it can definitely be done both ways.
Yep. So this is another view. And as you might be able to notice, guys, I'm not sure, this table expands. So that's, I thought, was an interesting little point. It does. And here's the kitchen. Very nice.
Yeah, if you were to zoom, I don't know if you can, I showed someone else this house the other day, and if you zoom in, you can see the little labels on all the cabinets. And so I can just describe it but like, there's little,
like right here?
Yeah, there's little tiny labels, and that's how we label.
That's cool.
Everybody knows their spot, right? Like room 1, room 2, room 3. You never have to worry. You just know exactly where it is.
Nice. Yeah. Because you know what? They're discreet. They're not like, I thought they'd be loud, but they're not.
They're small. So, little label maker for like $30, and you print them off, put them nicely.
Clear with the black. Yeah, this is good. So bedroom, nice size bedroom, looking good.
Agreeable.
And now here we have a floor plan. Is this the actual floor plan of the house prior to you buying it?
It was. And one of the reasons it didn't sell is because it was so boxy. It was so like not open concept, right? And people like open concept these days. That's what they want to live in. And so once people get these really boxy homes, a lot of times they don't sell the fastest. But we love them.
Yeah, anything that's a little bit unusual.
That's right.
Yeah. And Jennifer, I see your question. Absolutely no HOAs. So at least Sam, that's correct, right? No HOAs. They get all over you. They get into your, never mind.
And even if they don't, you just don't want to take that risk. One day they will, right? Like, what do you want to do?
And then there goes your money. Yeah. So this had 4 bedrooms. And with the next slide, is that where you actually, and they had 2 bathrooms? Yes.
2 full bathrooms upstairs. Yeah.
Okay, so this was the upstairs. Okay.
The upstairs.
And then now this was the basement?
This was the basement. So there's there was 2 full bathrooms down there already and 4 bedrooms, and I
Mhm.
was gonna turn the office, if you look on the left side of this
Yep.
screenshot, I was gonna turn the office into another bedroom, and I was gonna turn that bedroom into another bedroom, so it would have been a total of 10 bedrooms, actually. But this was actually my first kind of it was my first not it would have been my first 10-bedroom home. It would have been my first 9-bedroom home too, because I was doing like 7 and 8s. So at the last minute, I kind of chickened out and I was like, no, I'm worried about the parking. Let's just take everywhere I wrote around in the red. I just told my contractor, I said, let's make it all one big suite. And we added that bathroom. We turned the laundry room into a bathroom. And so now that bathroom is, that's a whole suite with a private bath. It's very nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that person's probably very happy.
Very happy. Yes.
And you are able to charge more than you can with a smaller bedroom. But you weren't quite as aggressive because it was your first one, you said?
Yeah, it's my first 9-bedroom. So I could have turned that into 2 rooms. Even today, I could go back and turn it into 2 rooms. But right now, this house is fully rented. I love it. It's 5 full baths. Had 4 full baths, so I only had to add 1 full bath. That was a really nice way to do it.
So tell me a little bit about the math on that.
This home would have rented for they told me, I think it would have rented for $2,000 if I rented it out, maybe $2,100. And I think this one, prices are higher now. We've had people stay in this house for a long time, so we still have some people on the original price that we leased it out to them on, and we raise rents every once in a while, but not as often as maybe we should or could. But that's just because I like being full. I like being, very occupied. And so we rented it out very soon for $67, I think, or $6,800.
Nice.
On this. So the math on it is, the mortgage, I think, is 22. Once we did a fix and flip type mortgage, I think it was $2,200, kind of like PITI. Then you've got your electrical and your expenses and a few other things. And then, so you're netting on this house, you're netting probably $3,000, maybe $3,500 on this house, something really great, right? So think about, if anybody listening to this, just think about your expenses. Now, I know we have some people on here that probably cost them 15, 20 grand a month to live. But if you're an average, if it costs you anywhere less than 10K a month to live your lifestyle, you're talking 3 to 4 homes potentially. That's obviously not a promise I can make. Someone got on me today. They were like, you need to not be very careful not to promise what people will make, because everybody's different and everybody's lender situation is different. And you might find, if you don't get the right mentorship, whether FE and follow, if you don't get the right mentorship, you could buy homes that cash flow a lot less, and you don't want that. So, but imagine if you need 10K a month to live and you can make 3K, that could be 3 homes, 3.5 homes, 4 homes.
Right.
So,
right.
Really,
Yeah,
really
that is pretty impressive, guys, to think that you could net that. Now, I will say, how much does it cost usually to convert a home from a single family to co-living on the average?
It all depends on how many bathrooms are the big expense there. So if you can find a home with 3 or 4 full baths already, it could be 10, 15K. And that's just walls, doors, some closets, and boom, you're done.
Because you only look for turnkey properties. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not a big rehabber. I'm sure you got
Yeah,
listeners.
no, I agree. I'm not either. I was
Yeah.
just kind of curious, how can you keep it to that? You would have to start off with a place that is, nice to begin with, as opposed to a place needs to be gutted.
But Effie, this is what's great about this model is 98% of the properties I buy are all on market. So I'm buying on market properties. Now you guys in the sub 2 community, you can find these off market deals. You get your wholesalers. Oh my gosh, you think if I'm crushing this model, just buying homes that just pop on the MLS that are with realtor commissions and all that stuff, you guys can crush.
That is an important thing to note here, to my audience. I haven't talked about it, but Sam only has been doing traditional funding.
Yeah.
So, that means going and getting a loan from the bank. So these numbers that we're talking about are, if the people are getting along oh yeah, that's true, Melissa, I agree. You don't want to raise the rent if they're getting along. But it is interesting to think of what we could do with creative financing. And I have been talking to Sam, and there are a few people in Sam's mentorship, that do use some form of creative financing, which is great. Anything helps. But when you take a look at what the numbers would be, they would be even further improved by creative financing. So in a nutshell, just tell our audience, and I know we're a little bit over time, but if you are okay with staying a little bit, tell our audience what is your buy box? What do you look for in a property?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking for 2,500 square feet or bigger. That's probably the biggest thing, right?
Hmm.
The biggest thing is how big the house is. There you go. How's that for a play on words?
And 2,500 square feet will give you
8
what?
rooms.
8 rooms.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And
And the
Jennifer
formula
says, wait, Sam, why aren't you in sub two with us?
good question. I mean, look, here's the straight truth. I've been able to find amazing cash flowing deals with crazy high interest rates. So if I can find amazing, but absolutely, I have tons of friends that are in sub two. Jennifer, thank you for that. Jennifer, I will consider that an invitation. Effie's mentioned it to me several times. I
Oh,
appreciate
yes,
it.
I have. I have.
But
And,
I have a huge appreciation for that game. My goal right now in life has just been to scale fast, and if I can scale fast with a with traditional financing, like that's my goal. And right now, my vision, I'm trying to be on the cutting edge of it. And so my vision is to do a lot of ground up development. So what my big focus for my company is on right now is how can we build these buildings without having to do these little rehabs from the ground up. So they're just designed from the get-go. A, they're brand new. And B, I love it. Okay,
I
I'll
do.
snag that. Thanks, Jared.
I do.
But if I can get ground up development, I can build brand new buildings and I can get them, you know, with all the bathrooms I need them from the get-go. And the third thing, the sub two community will hear me on this one. And I can refinance them out and pull my cash out once I build the building. So that is my version of what I'm working on right now with seller financing not with seller financing, with creative financing. That's kind of my Sam Wegert's version of that is I'm going to build these buildings. I'm going to fill them. I'm going to refinance them. I'm going to create a perpetual motion machine because I know what the value will be once they're full and producing cash flow. I know I can fill them and I can just pull my cash out every single time and move forward.
Right.
With that. So that is currently my big,
That's exciting. That's very
perpetual,
exciting.
very
So are
exciting.
you going to be looking for land? Start looking for land?
Yes, I have 3 pieces of land right now. I have one under contract, 2 more, one my buddy and I are partnering in, one I own. And yes, that's the new focus is where can I find the right land? So if anybody
And
has
is it going to be
Asheville
owned?
or Charlotte, North Carolina, plots of land, please send them
Asheville
over.
and North Carolina. Okay, be
Yeah.
careful what you wish for, honestly,
Please,
because
yeah.
yeah,
Flip me
I'm
some land,
serious.
Effie. Let's
There's no doubt in my mind that if you, we'll talk again a little later,
yeah,
but giving me the particulars on what it is you're looking for, I'm sure that we can work that in sub two because,
yeah.
we are only 11,000. We
Yeah,
just
that's
went
great.
over 11,000 this week, guys.
That's
And that's
awesome.
only in sub two. It's not the other areas. But yes, so definitely let's talk about that because that would be very exciting to learn that concept. And Sam does have a little bit of his work cut out for him, his mission, because co-living is relatively new in many eyes, especially the way that it is being done now, as opposed to what like he said in Europe and such. And a lot of people are saying co-living is the new Airbnb. That it's a necessity versus a want,
That's
and
right.
that it's going to be a big thing in the future because of how short the shortage of housing. And the baby boomers, the wave of people that don't want to, end up being on their own until they have to be put into assisted living because they're dying from loneliness. But
Yeah.
so he is one of the few people that's at the forefront that can mentor. He cares about his followers. He's articulate. He's done it. And I do think that in some ways you do belong where you are. I want you in sub two too. Don't get me wrong. You know that. But I can see where you wouldn't want to take your eye off that ball because it's just taking off.
Thank you. Yeah.
And, in 5 or 10 years down the road, who knows? I mean, you might have a little old biddy like me also doing something like that. You never know. But the point is, now is the time for you because there is nothing out there. Going to Pad Split or to Common, those are platforms, guys. It's like saying, "Oh, I'm going to learn short-term rental by going to Airbnb."
Great.
Airbnb is going to just tell you their requirements. You still have to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
And if you want to learn about it, just the same way we've been learning about creative financing, you have to go to somebody who's doing it, who's an operator, who can say, watch out for this and watch out for that. You're going to cross the legal line here. Yep, I've seen that before, and save you all the trouble, just like PACE is saving us the trouble in creative financing.
Yes.
And that pad split and, Common and a few others that exist leave you on your own. Now, I do want to point out that you also do some management. Is that right, Sam?
We do. Yeah. For
Could
inner
you talk
circle,
about that?
yeah, for inner circle clients, which Effie's a member of my inner circle. It's just so we're getting to know each other, but I'm just so grateful for you, Effie, and just this opportunity to even be on this podcast. But absolutely 100%. For inner circle clients and for certain people, and for all my own properties, we built a property management company, and we just do a really great job. We kind of cater towards that workforce housing type market, and I help people just find the best properties. And the difference in a good property and the best property could be 40 to 50,000 a year.
Absolutely.
That's why the mentorship is important. Is like, look, that it could literally cost you a tremendous amount to do this incorrectly, and so we manage it. We're working on the builds. I eventually will be helping my inner circle clients get into the builds. I want to prove that model out first, and that's what I'm working on and doing for largely so that I can bring it back to my community, the ground up stuff, and then keeps me off the streets of trouble.
I like that a lot.
I want to say this one thing because I feel like we talked today a lot about this model from the investor standpoint. Like I just want people to understand too, like the U.S. Department for Housing and Urban Development, which is otherwise known as HUD, just came out with a statement back in January 2021, and they basically said, we believe co-living can solve affordable housing in America. It's like, this is not just this great. Like, we're all investors. We have a lot of money. Like we have money. We have a responsibility to our money. Our money, each dollar is like a soldier. It needs to go out, needs to produce a return, come back. We need to redeploy it. And what about there's something I call a heart paycheck. I've got a buddy right now who bought into a vape shop and he's making bank. I mean, I'm like jealous of his returns.
Okay.
And I wouldn't do it. I would never buy that. Not because I have anything against anybody who vapes. It just doesn't fit my value system on what I want to promote to the world.
Yep.
And so you can go to bed every night knowing I'm making a difference in housing. I'm making a difference for a crisis that frankly just doesn't get talked about in the United States.
Right.
That is something people should definitely take to the bank, and it's a different bank.
Yes,
but it's still a
bank for sure. Yeah. I agree because I am looking at me putting my every single dollar I have, sending it out as a soldier to come back for the future. It isn't really for myself. I understand my time is limited. I'm delighted to be working and on fire for all of this, but it isn't so that I can retire. I can retire. I am retired. I don't need money in that regard. And frankly, I wouldn't want my great grandchildren to say, oh yeah, Grandma Colbeans got started on marijuana. That's how she did it. So I understand what you're saying about vape shops and such. You have to be able to live with whatever it is. And if you can live with that, that's fine, but it's not, it's not my cup of tea. So yeah, I agree with that. I have a question before a couple or more are coming, and I'm trying to make sure we don't keep you too long, but Scott asks, what is your square foot to room ratio formula?
Yeah.
I know the answer, but give it to him.
Yeah, I'll give it to him real fast. And I do have a formula for this. And my caveat to this formula is that you have to be careful because sometimes you can do better than this formula. Sometimes you'll do worse than this formula. But it at least allows me to scroll through Zillow really fast, or now my acquisitions manager to scroll through Zillow and be like, boom, 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 and just fit all the criteria in and be able to identify properties faster. So that's really what it allows us to do. So if a home is 1,500 square feet, it's 4 bedrooms. Like 1,500 square feet can be at least 4 bedrooms. Maybe that's a way to think about it. And then every 250 square feet you add on to that can be an additional bedroom. So 1,500 is 4, 1,750 is 5, 2,000 is 6, 2,250 is 7, 2,500 is 8. You could do more than that. I have a couple of 2,500 square foot houses that could have been 9 or could have been 10. But that gives you a general idea on how to kind of just know what your buy box can be when you're zipping in. And then I also have that's an interesting comment from Lance. I want to address that in a second, but I also have now this varies per state and per city, and it varies based on your lending situation, but I also have a per price. Like in Charlotte, I can pay about $50,000 per bedroom. I can actually start, because rents have increased, I can actually start paying a little bit more than that. I can pay closer to $60K per bedroom, but like, that's just Um, I just know that. So if I see an 8-bedroom house, or sorry, if I see a 2,500 square foot house that's 400K, boom, I know that that's like definitely within my buy box. I can just immediately, make an offer and move really fast on that home. So
Now,
something
when
to
you
think
do
about.
that, do you base the 50K per room after the conversion? Because if you have, let's say, a 2250 square footage and it's 4 bedrooms,
Right,
okay, but you know that you can make it 7.
right.
So, are you looking at 50K for each of the 7?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm looking at
after it's
50K
converted.
based on that square footage. And then, yeah, if I go in and I see that it needs all the other numbers obviously have to be put into a very detailed pro forma to see what it spits out at the end. So this is my quick and dirty formula. I'm just like,
Right.
8 bedrooms, 50K, boom. And then yes, rehab costs would be on top of that. And as long as it's reasonable rehab costs, it usually still fits in my pro forma really well.
Got it.
If it's insane
Thank you.
rehab costs, then it's not going to really, it's not going to fit.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
So, Lance, go ahead.
Lance is asking about ground up. He says, love the ground up model. Definitely got my attention. Look, the ground up model is tricky. It's nuanced because there's city rate, there's all kinds of, there's like way more eyes looking at it, right? But if you can do it correctly, if co-living is like here on the cutting edge, ground up co-living is like here on the cut. It's way on the cutting edge right now. I mean, I'm very connected to the co-living space. The CEO of Pad Split is a friend of mine. I know a lot of the guys over at Pad Split, a lot of the other big companies that are doing this. And like, I know like 2 people that have built ground up stuff, maybe 3,
Interesting.
right? So we're definitely headed in that direction. And I'm trying to just once I prove it out, you'll be, Effie, you'll be hearing about it a ton. I'll be talking about it
You
every
better believe
live
it.
call we have. I'll be like, ground up, ground up, ground up.
Well, the interesting thing is that in Sub 2, we have a whole bunch of different things. And one of them is storage. And I'm interested in storage.
Right, right.
And I have a very good friend, and it's his birthday today, as a matter of fact, who works in storage for companies that do it from the ground up.
Right, right.
And so he did a series of Zooms on that. And one of the things I realized is that you have to be it's a different, like you said, it's a different notch.
Right.
You've got to know your price of land. You got to know the rules. You got to have all of that infrastructure set up that you don't have when you just buy a home. Because if you buy the home, you just need some alteration done to it, not a lot. Oh, Lance, thank you so much. I keep forgetting this. I need to say, please subscribe. and if you guys do want me to do Zooms in Sub 2, comment below both about Sam and whether you want me to do it, because I need to point it to Pace quickly and easily. So I'm looking for comments this week, guys. I'm actually becoming more sophisticated. Woohoo! Anyways, never mind. So thank you for that. And Jennifer has a question, and then I think we're going to try to let you go. She says, at 50K per room, what is the rent per room and your PITI? Oh, the underwriting. I'll tell you something, Jennifer. Pace has really given us a lot of wonderful underwriting sheets and formulas and stuff. They are a little different. When I was looking at Sam's, I go, oh, this is different. And it's different in a couple of different places. And one of them is that he's doing on-market deals. But do you have something you'd like to say on that, Sam?
Yeah, I think the first thing, Jennifer, it's a great question. It's a difficult question to answer, and I'll tell you exactly why. I have a room. A primary bedroom in Charlotte will rent for about $1,000, maybe $1,100, utilities included, right? And so, a shared bath, one that has, so that's with a private bath. If it's a shared bath, it's going to rent for anywhere from $700 to $900. And you might be like, and so the reason it's kind of difficult to answer is because really it's a little bit nuanced, right? It's like, well, how big is the room? Does it have a private entrance? How many people is it sharing a bath with? 3, 4, 2? Is it a private bath? So there's a little bit more in the underwriting that you kind of need to have about that area. And we, if someone's going into a brand new area, we have all these tests that we'll have them run to make sure that that area is going to be legit and what pricing they can get for rooms, because that is sometimes difficult to determine what you're going to be able to get. Now, I know in Charlotte and I know in Asheville, because we have 200 plus units that we're that we own or that we manage here. And so we kind of have that understanding. But ultimately it looks like just doing a good evaluation, putting all these numbers, and then the 50K per room. I want to be really clear about this too, so no one takes away the wrong message. That is a very, very, very general, like literally that's just a scroll through Zillow. And if it sort of equals, if a 2,500 square foot home sort of equals around 400K, like then it kind of goes into my like snag box, but it could be 450. If I really like the location and I think maybe I could get a 9th room, or it could be 390, or like, it's just a general, like, hey, what homes do I snag from the market really quickly? It is not a formula.
Yeah.
You need to have a good underwriting sheet for that. And I've been doing this for 15 years and I still do good detailed underwriting on every single deal. Once I walk the property, once I figure out the floor plan, once I figure out, wait, am I going to add 1 bath or am I going to add no baths? What am I, like Effie was saying, what are my construction costs? Like ultimately that's what it's got to fit in that box, and it's got to spit out a return that you're happy with. And, for me, if it's not spitting out a 20% return on my cash that I put into the deal, at least. Now, sub 2 guys, if you can get it creative financing, you got no cash in the deal, like it's going to be like infinite return, right? But like for me, I have my buy box and that's what I'm going. But like, so I hope that answers your question. I hope that helps. I mean, PITI is just going to be whatever it's going to be. Some of that's just on what loan I can get at that particular moment, and et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully that helps. And I know that you guys have some ways to stick it into a formula for the creative financing. I know we just brought on an expert in seller financing, and he showed us a pretty massive calculator that kind of calculated the seller financing.
That was so cool. And it was only seller financing. It wasn't sub 2. It wasn't no hybrids, nothing like that. So it's interesting. And I definitely am going to be speaking with Tiago. Hey guys, I just thought something came to my mind, then I'm going to say it. Go ahead and take screenshots of this if you wish and place it in sub 2 and say you'd like to have Zooms in there. And if we see a few posts from that, and if you guys comment on them, that will help me to let Pace know, because I hadn't thought about that. Besides commenting on my YouTube. The other thing that Sam had mentioned, and he didn't say it here, but Jennifer, one of the things he does is he asks you to test the market. So what you do is you put out ads to see whether you get responses. Do you want to talk about that very briefly? I know I'm keeping you late. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, we can touch on that real fast. So it's really important when you go into a new area. I mean, look, here's the truth. If you go into any of the major markets in the United States, you're fine, because every major market in the United States, at least that I know about, has some sort of housing, affordable housing, or workforce housing issue. If you are going into another area that's not one of the big major markets, the Charlottes, the Atlantas, the Miamis, the Jacksonvilles, the New York, New York City, whatever, then it's helpful to test the market, since this is a new blue ocean. It's a new strategy. It's up and coming. The way that you do that is really, really simple. It's just by running some test ads, some fake test ads. And I know this is a scrappy play. Don't get on me too much for this, but I'm saying don't put a location, don't put an address, just find some photos from a house, write a nice description of an ad. And then when people respond to your ad, don't ghost them. Just respond back and say, actually, I'm creating a waiting list for a co-living home in this town, and I'd like to get some additional information from you. Would you please fill out this 4-question survey and ask them, like, what their budget is? Do they understand this is co-living, not the whole house you posted, for $800 or $900? And yeah, exactly. And what their budget is, when they're looking to move, a little bit about them, et cetera. So that way we get real market data. And if you post an ad and you get, like, somebody on this last challenge, Effie, they hired a property manager to manage their co-living place, and they were doing a crap job. And so he's like, I posted an ad on my own just on Facebook Marketplace. And he's like, it got 900 hits in like one day. And he was like, they're sucking. Like, they're not even doing a good job. So he decided to take over back the management of his own property. And he did that, just by using Facebook Marketplace ads.
Right. So. Amazing. Amazing. Well, guys, we are well over our hour, and I don't keep my guests that long usually. And I thank you so much for staying with us. I would like to remind you guys, please say thank you to Sam. Thank him for what he has done. And like I said, don't forget that he has a free 5-day challenge coming up. I think it was September 18th. So I'll kindly remind you of that if you wish. And we'll see where we can go from this. I am fully committed to making this work, so I have no problem in sharing as much as I can. So I'm going to say goodbye for now, and we shall see you next week. I know it's Labor Day, but consistency, guys, I have to do it. So here we go. Bye, everyone.
Bye.